The house smelled like home, like roasted chicken and cornbread, like the lavender air freshener Simone always bought from the grocery store on 3rd Street. It smelled like everything was supposed to be, but the moment I stepped through that front door, something felt wrong. I'd been on the road for 6 days. 6 long days hauling freight from Georgia to Ohio and back again, sleeping in truck stop parking lots, eating gas station sandwiches, counting down the hours until I could see my family again, until I could see Marcus, my boy, my 7-year-old son with a gap-toothed smile and a laugh that sounded like music, the kid who used to sprint across the living room and launch himself into my arms the second he heard my truck pull up, the kid who'd tell me about every single thing that happened while I was gone, what he learned in school, what game he played at recess, what joke made his teacher laugh. But when I walked in that Tuesday evening, Marcus didn't run to me. He was sitting at the kitchen table, hunched over a half-eaten plate of food, staring at nothing. His shoulders were curved inward, like he was trying to make himself smaller. His eyes, those bright brown eyes that used to shine, looked dull, empty. "Hey, buddy," I said, dropping my duffel bag by the door. "I'm home." He looked up slowly. No smile, no excitement, just a flicker of recognition. Then his gaze dropped back to his plate. "Hi, Daddy," he whispered. That was it. 2 words, barely audible. Simone appeared from the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her face lighting up with that familiar smile. She crossed the room and kissed my cheek, her hand resting on my chest. "Welcome back, baby," she said warmly. "I made your favorite. Are you hungry?" I nodded. But I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at Marcus, at the way he flinched when she walked past him, at the way his whole body tensed when her shadow fell across the table. "Marcus, baby, you barely touched your dinner," Simone said, her voice sing-song sweet. "You feeling okay?" "Yes, ma'am," he said quietly, not looking up. "Well, eat up. Your father's home. Aren't you happy?" "Yes, ma'am." No emotion, no life, just compliance. I sat down across from him, studying his face. There were dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. His skin looked pale, almost gray. And when he finally met my gaze for just a second, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Fear. My 7-year-old son was afraid. "Marcus," I said gently, "You okay, buddy? You don't look so good." "He's fine," Simone interjected too quickly. "Just been fighting a little cold. Kids at school, you know how it is. Germs everywhere." I kept my eyes on Marcus. "That right, son? You sick?" He glanced at his mother, then back at me. "I'm fine." But he wasn't. I knew it in my gut. I'd known my son since the day he was born, held him in my arms when he was barely 6 pounds, stayed up all night when he had colic, taught him how to ride a bike, how to tie his shoes, how to throw a football. I knew every expression on his face, every tone in his voice. And this hollow, defeated version of Marcus, this wasn't my son. After dinner, I tried to talk to him, followed him to his room, sat on the edge of his bed while he changed into his pajamas. He moved mechanically, like he was going through the motions of a routine he performed 1,000 times. "You sure you're okay?" I asked again. "You can talk to me about anything, you know that, right?" He nodded, pulling his shirt over his head. That's when I saw them. Bruises. Dark, purple marks on his upper arm. Finger-shaped, like someone had grabbed him. Hard. "Marcus," I said, my voice tight, "what happened to your arm?" He looked down at the bruises, then quickly pulled his pajama sleeve down to cover them. "I fell. At recess." "You fell?" "Yes, sir. On the playground. I'm okay." He wasn't lying well. His voice trembled. His eyes darted toward the door, like he was checking to see if anyone was listening. "Come here," I said, opening my arms. He hesitated. For the first time in his life, my son hesitated to hug me. But eventually, he crossed the small space between us and let me pull him close. His body was stiff, rigid. He didn't melt into me the way he used to. "I love you, Marcus," I whispered into his hair. "You know that, right? No matter what." "I know, Daddy." But he said it like a script, like words he was supposed to say. I tucked him into bed, kissed his forehead, turned off the light. "Get some sleep, buddy. I'll be right down the hall if you need me." "Okay." I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him in the darkness. He didn't close his eyes. He just stared at the ceiling, completely still, like he was waiting for something. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about those bruises, about the fear in his eyes, about the way he'd flinched when Simone walked by. I told myself I was overreacting, that I was tired, paranoid, looking for problems that weren't there. Simone loved Marcus. She was his mother. She'd never hurt him. But around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I cracked my bedroom door open just enough to see. The hallway was dark, except for the nightlight near the bathroom. And there, standing perfectly still outside Marcus's door, was Simone. She wasn't moving, wasn't doing anything, just standing there, her silhouette motionless, her head tilted slightly like she was listening. My heart started pounding. After what felt like an eternity, she reached for the doorknob, opened Marcus's door slowly, carefully, like she didn't want to make a sound. And then she stepped inside and closed the door behind her. I waited, my blood turning to ice. A minute passed, 2 minutes. Then I heard it, a muffled sound, brief, barely audible, then silence. When Simone finally emerged, she closed the door softly and walked back down the hallway toward our bedroom, her expression calm, almost serene. She slipped back into bed beside me like nothing had happened. I lay there in the darkness, my mind racing, my gut screaming at me that something was terribly, horribly wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to Simone breathe beside me. Slow, steady, peaceful, while my mind replayed that image over and over. Her standing outside Marcus's door, the muffled sound, the silence that followed. When morning came, I was exhausted. Not the kind of tired you feel after a long haul, but the bone-deep exhaustion of fear and confusion. Marcus came down for breakfast moving like a ghost. Same hollow eyes. Same withdrawn posture. He barely touched his cereal, just pushed the pieces around in the milk with a spoon, creating little whirlpools that went nowhere. "Morning, baby," Simone said cheerfully, ruffling his hair as she passed. He flinched. Subtle, but I saw it. "Morning," he whispered. I watched them, studied every interaction. The way Marcus kept his distance from her. The way he never made eye contact. The way his body language screamed, "Stay away." But Simone seemed so normal. She made coffee, hummed along to the radio, asked me about my trip, laughed at something on her phone. Like everything was fine. Maybe it was fine. Maybe I was losing my mind. After Simone left to drop Marcus at school, I went into his room. I don't know what I was looking for. Evidence, I guess. Some concrete proof that my instincts weren't betraying me. His room was neat. Too neat for a 7-year-old. The bed was made perfectly. Military corners, not a wrinkle in sight. His toys were lined up on the shelves in order of size. His books were alphabetized. This wasn't how Marcus kept his room. Marcus was creative chaos. Legos scattered across the floor, drawings taped to the walls at odd angles, a pile of stuffed animals in the corner that he called his team. But now it looked like a showroom. Sterile. Controlled. I opened his closet. Everything hanging evenly spaced. I checked under the bed, and that's when I found it. His teddy bear. Marcus had had that bear since he was 2. Named it Bruno. Slept with it every single night. Took it everywhere until he started school and decided he was too big for stuffed animals in public. But Bruno still lived on his bed, always. Except now Bruno was under the bed, shoved into far corner. And when I pulled him out, my blood ran cold. The bear was damaged, one eye missing, a rip along the seam of the head, stuffing coming out. and dark stains on the fabric that looked like it had been struck repeatedly. I sat there on the floor, holding that ruined bear, and felt something break inside me. Who beats a child's teddy bear? What kind of person does that? I want to call Simone right then, confront her, demand answers. But something stopped me, some instinct that told me if I showed my hand too soon, if I let her know I suspected something, Marcus could end up in more danger. So I put the bear back where I found it, closed the closet door, left the room exactly as I found it. When Marcus came home from school that afternoon, I tried again. "Hey, buddy," I said, kneeling down to his level in the living room. "Want to go throw the football around? Just you and me?" He looked at me with those empty eyes. "I have homework." "Homework can wait. Come on, just for a little bit." I can't. I have to finish my homework." "Marcus." "I have to finish my homework," he repeated, louder this time, almost panicked. Then he walked away, shoulders hunched, and disappeared into his room. I found Simone in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. "He seems really off," I said carefully. "More than just a cold." She didn't look up. "He's fine. You worry too much." Those bruises on his arm. "He fell, like he told you. Kids fall. It happens." "Simone." I waited until she looked at me. "Is everything okay? With you and Marcus?" Her expression didn't change. "Of course. Why would you ask that?" "I don't know. He just seems scared." "Scared?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "He's not scared. He's just tired. School's been hard this semester. He's adjusting." "Adjusting to what?" "To life, Marcus. To growing up. You're gone a lot. You know, you miss things. I'm here every day, dealing with the reality of raising him while you're out driving trucks." The words stung, because they were partly true. I was gone a lot. 5, sometimes 6 days a week. I miss parent-teacher conferences, school plays, soccer practices. I miss bedtimes and morning routines, and all the little moments that make up a childhood. But that didn't explain the fear in my son's eyes. "Maybe I should take some time off," I said. "Stay home for a bit. And how will we pay the bills? You think money grows on trees?" She was right about that, too. We needed my income. The trucking job paid well, but it required me to be on the road. We'd made that choice together years ago. Sacrificed time for financial stability. But what good was financial stability if my son wasn't safe? That night, I lay in bed again, pretending to sleep, waiting. Around 1 a.m, Simone got up. I kept my breathing steady, eyes barely open, watching through my lashes as she left the room. I counted to 10, then slipped out of bed and moved to the door. There she was again, standing outside Marcus's room, perfectly still. This time I watched as she opened the door and went inside. I crept down the hallway, my heart hammering so loud I was sure she'd hear it. I pressed myself against the wall next to his door, listening. Silence at first, then her voice, so low I almost couldn't hear it. "You know the rules." A whimper. "Marcus." "Quiet," she hissed. "You know what happens if you make noise." My hand reached for the doorknob. I was about to burst in, to stop whatever was happening, when I heard footsteps approaching the door. I barely made it back to our bedroom before she emerged. She climbed back into bed beside me, her skin cold. I lay there trembling with rage and fear and helplessness, knowing I just heard something terrible, but with no proof, no witnesses, no way to make anyone believe me. In that moment, I made a decision. I needed to see what was happening. I needed evidence. Because if I was going to protect my son, if I was going to stop this, I couldn't rely on suspicions and gut feelings. I needed the truth. The next morning, I ordered a camera online. A small one, disguised as a nightlight. It would record everything and send the footage to my phone. My hands shook as I entered my credit card information. This felt like a betrayal, like I was violating my wife's privacy. spying on my own home, crossing some line that shouldn't be crossed. But then I thought about Marcus's face, about the bruises, about the broken bear, about the fear, and I clicked purchase. 2 days shipping. In 48 hours, I'd know the truth, whatever it cost me. The package arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Small brown box, unremarkable, the kind of thing that could contain anything innocent, a book, a phone case, a kitchen gadget. But inside was something that felt like a weapon, or maybe a shield. I wasn't sure which yet. The camera was tiny, built into what looked like a regular nightlight. Soft blue plastic casing. LED lights that glowed warm and gentle. The kind of thing a parent would buy to comfort a scared child. The irony wasn't lost on me. I waited until Simone took Marcus to the park. She'd mentioned it at breakfast, said the fresh air would be good for him, that he'd been spending too much time indoors. Marcus hadn't responded, just nodded obediently and finished his toast in silence. The moment their car pulled out of the driveway, I moved. Marcus's room felt different in the daylight. Less ominous, maybe, but still wrong. Everything was still too perfect, too controlled. The bed was made with those same military corners. The toys were still arranged by size. The books still alphabetized. I pulled the old night light from the outlet near his bookshelf and replaced it with a new one. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it twice. The camera lens was hidden behind a small dark circle that looked like a speaker hole. Positioned at the right angle, it would capture the entire room. The bed, the door, the window, everything. I plugged it in. The soft blue light glowed to life. Using my phone, I synced it to the app, tested the feed. Crystal clear video, surprisingly good quality. Sound too. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning, the distant sound of a car passing outside. I adjusted the angle slightly, making sure Marcus's bed was centered in the frame. Then I stood back, staring at the innocent-looking nightlight that was now going to witness whatever happened in this room when I was gone. Part of me hoped it would show nothing, that I'd watch days of footage and see only Marcus sleeping peacefully, Simone checking on him like any normal mother would, that I'd feel foolish and paranoid and relieved all at once. But a deeper part of me, the part that had seen the fear in my son's eyes, the part that heard those muffled sounds at night, that part knew I was about to see something that would destroy me. I deleted the confirmation email from my inbox, cleared my browser history, put the packaging in a trash bag, and drove it to a dumpster 3 blocks away. When Simone and Marcus came home an hour later, I was sitting on the couch watching TV like I'd been there all afternoon. How was the park? I asked. Fine, Simone said, setting her purse on the counter. Marcus walked past without a word, heading straight to his room. Marcus seemed quiet. I offered. He's always quiet these days. She said it like it was just a fact, like the light dying in my son's eyes was something to be expected, something normal. That evening, I went to say goodnight to him. He was already in bed, covers pulled up to his chin, staring at the ceiling again. Hey, buddy, I said softly, sitting on the edge of his mattress. The new night light cast a soft glow across his face. How you feeling? Fine. You know you can talk to me, right? About anything? He nodded, but his eyes remained fixed on the ceiling. Marcus. I waited until he looked at me. If something's wrong, if someone's hurting you, you can tell me. I'll protect you. I promise. For a moment, just a brief, flickering moment, I saw something in his face. A crack in the mask. His lip trembled. His eyes filled with tears that he blinked away quickly. He opened his mouth like he was about to speak. Then Simone's voice came from the hallway. Marcus, baby, you need to get some sleep. The crack sealed shut immediately. The mask returned. Yes, ma'am, he whispered. I wanted to scream, wanted to grab him and run, just take him and disappear somewhere she'd never find us. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not without proof. So I kissed his forehead, squeezed his hand, and left the room. As I reached the door, I glanced back at the nightlight. Its gentle blue glow seemed almost mocking now. See the truth, it seemed to whisper. Then decide what kind of man you really are. I had one more long haul scheduled for the week, 5 days, leaving Saturday morning. I tried to cancel it. Told my dispatcher I had a family emergency, but he said they were short-staffed and I was the only driver available for this route. If I didn't take it, I could lose my position. So I took it, which meant I'd be gone for 5 nights. 5 nights of footage. Friday night, I lay in bed unable to sleep. I kept thinking about what would happen after I left, about what that camera would see, about the moment I'd have to press play and watch whatever nightmare my son was living through. Around 2 a.m, I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. The feed showed Marcus's room in night vision, everything gray and green and grainy. Marcus was asleep, curled on his side, one arm hanging off the bed. He looked so small, so vulnerable. I watched him for almost an hour, just his chest rising and falling with each breath, and I prayed, actually prayed, something I hadn't done since I was a kid, that I was wrong about everything. Saturday morning came too fast. I packed my bag slowly, deliberately, like maybe if I took long enough the universe would intervene and I wouldn't have to leave. But time kept moving forward like it always does. Marcus appeared in the doorway of our bedroom, still in his pajamas. He watched me zip up my duffel bag with those empty eyes. "You leaving?" he asked. "Yeah, buddy, got a 5-day run. I'll be back Wednesday night." He nodded, didn't say anything else. I crossed the room and knelt down in front of him, putting my hands on his shoulders. He tensed under my touch. "Marcus, listen to me," I said, my voice low and urgent. "I'm going to keep you safe. Okay? Whatever's happening, whatever you're scared of, I'm going to fix it. I promise." He stared at me, and for a second I thought he might tell me everything. His mouth opened slightly. His eyes grew wet. But then he just whispered, "Okay, Daddy," and the moment was gone. I pulled him into a hug. His body was rigid, unyielding, like hugging a statue. When I let go and stood up, Simone was standing in the hallway behind him, watching us with an expression I couldn't read. "Drive safe," she said. "Always do." I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Before I stepped outside, I turned back one last time. Marcus was standing at the living room window, his small hand pressed against the glass, his face blank. But tears were streaming down his cheeks. Silent tears. The kind of crying you do when you've learned that making noise is dangerous. I nearly dropped my bag, nearly ran back inside, and refused to leave. But my phone buzzed with a text from my dispatcher. "Where are you? Shipment's waiting." I gave Marcus one last look, trying to convey everything I couldn't say. "I see you. I know. I'm coming back for you." Then I walked to my truck, climbed into the cab, and drove away, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Every mile I drove felt like betrayal, but I kept going, because in 48 hours, I'd check that camera feed, and then I'd know exactly what I was dealing with. And God help anyone who had hurt my son. I made it 8 hours before I couldn't take it anymore. 8 hours of highway stretching out ahead of me, white lines blurring together. My mind replaying Marcus's face at the window, those silent tears, that hollow expression, the way he'd stood there watching me leave like he was watching his last hope disappear over the horizon. By the time I pulled into a truck stop outside Knoxville, my hands were cramping from gripping the steering wheel, and my jaw ached from clenching my teeth. The sun had set an hour ago. The parking lot was half full of semis, their engines idling, drivers sleeping in their cabs or grabbing food at the attached diner. I parked in a dark corner, away from the lights and the other trucks, turned off the engine. The sudden silence was deafening. For 10 minutes, I just sat there staring at my phone, working up the courage to open the app. Maybe there's nothing, I told myself. Maybe you've been imagining things. Maybe you're about to ruin your marriage over paranoia. But I thought about the bruises, the broken bear, the way Marcus flinched, the muffled sounds through his bedroom door. I opened the app. The camera feed appeared, live view first, showing Marcus's darkroom in night vision. Empty. He was probably downstairs having dinner. I switched to the recorded footage. Scroll back to last night, Friday night, the last night before I left. The timestamp read 9:47 p.m. I pressed play. The video showed Marcus getting ready for bed. He moved mechanically, brushing his teeth, changing into pajamas, climbing under the covers. No stuffed animals. No bedtime story. Just a kid going through the motions of sleep, like it was a chore he'd been assigned. He lay there in the dark for over an hour, staring at the ceiling, not moving. Then, at 11:23 p.m., the door opened. Simone entered. She didn't turn on the light. Didn't say anything at first. Just stood there in the doorway, a dark silhouette, watching him. Marcus didn't move, didn't acknowledge her. But I could see the change in his body, the way every muscle tensed, the way his breathing became shallow and careful. She crossed the bed, and what happened next made me vomit. I barely got the truck door open in time. Leaned out and retched onto the asphalt, my whole body convulsing, my mind screaming no, 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 no. When I could breathe again, I forced myself to look back at the screen. Simone had woken him fully. Without words, without warning, she'd pulled him from the bed, and then she grabbed a roll of tape from somewhere. Tape she clearly brought with her, tape she clearly used before, and pressed it across his mouth. Marcus didn't fight, didn't struggle. He just let her do it, his eyes wide and terrified but resigned, like he knew exactly what was coming and knew that resistance would only make it worse. Then she began. I won't describe it in detail. I can't. Even now, months later, I can't put into words what I watched my wife do to our son. The way she struck him with cold, calculated precision. The way she whispered threats in his ear. Too quiet for the camera to pick up the words, but the venom in her tone was unmistakable. The way she covered his mouth when he tried to cry out. It lasted 15 minutes. 15 minutes that felt like hours. When she was done, she peeled the tape off his mouth carefully, smoothing his hair, almost tenderly. Then she whispered something. I could barely hear it. Had to replay it 3 times with the volume maxed, and finally made out the words. Tomorrow night, if you're not perfect, it'll be worse. Then she left. Marcus lay there in the dark, silent tears streaming down his face, his body curled into a ball, shaking. He didn't sleep for hours. Neither did I. I sat in that truck cab, watching the footage, and felt like I was shattering from the inside out. Every belief I had about my life, my marriage, my family, gone, obliterated. The woman I'd loved for 9 years, the woman I'd married, the mother of my child, she was a monster, and I'd left my son alone with her. I scrolled forward, watched the next night, Saturday, tonight, the same ritual, almost identical, like she'd done this so many times it had become routine, like this was just her schedule, her habit. How long had this been happening? Months? A year? How many nights had Marcus endured this while I slept down the hall, oblivious? How many times had he screamed silently into that tape while I dreamed peacefully? The guilt crashed over me like a wave. I doubled over, gasping, feeling like I couldn't breathe. My son had been tortured. There was no other word for it. And I hadn't known, hadn't seen, hadn't protected him. I'd failed the most basic duty of fatherhood. Keep your child safe. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and pulled up my sister's number. Janet. She was a social worker, dealt with child welfare cases for the state. If anyone would know what to do, it would be her. She answered on the 3rd ring. Marcus? It's almost midnight. What? I have video proof my wife is abusing our son. I said, my voice breaking. I need to know how to save him without getting him killed. Silence on the other end. Then, tell me everything. So I did. I told her about the bruises, the fear, the camera, the footage. Told her every detail I could remember, my words tumbling out in a frantic rush. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Marcus," she finally said, her voice steady and professional, but with an undercurrent of horror. "This is serious. What you're describing is felony child abuse. But you're right, we have to be careful. If you confront her, if she knows you know, Marcus could be in immediate danger. So what do I do? First, download all that footage to multiple secure locations. Cloud storage, external drive, send it to me. Make sure even the camera gets destroyed. We have the evidence." Okay. Second, document everything. Every instance you can find. Timestamps, descriptions. The more evidence we have, the stronger the case. Then what? Then we call the authorities. But we do it strategically. We need to extract Marcus safely, which means coordinating with police and child protective services to move all at once. No warning. No chance for her to hurt him or destroy evidence. How long will that take? A few days. Maybe a week if we're careful. I know that sounds like an eternity, but rushing this could backfire. We get one shot to do this right. A few days. A week. That meant more nights. More tape. More terror. "I can't leave him there," I said. "Janet, I can't." "You have to. For now. I know it's killing you, but if you go in there guns blazing, you could lose custody entirely. She could claim you're unstable, that you abandoned your job, that you're making false accusations. We have to build an airtight case. You understand?" I understood, but understanding didn't make it easier. "Start driving back," Janet said, "but don't go home yet. Come to my house. We'll work through this together. We'll get Marcus out. I promise." "Okay." "Marcus." Her voice softened. "You did the right thing. Installing that camera. Calling me. You're saving him. Remember that." But it didn't feel like saving him. It felt like watching him drown while I stood on the shore, unable to reach him. I hung up and immediately started downloading the footage. Uploaded it to 3 different cloud storage accounts. Sent copies to Janet's email. Saved it to an external hard drive I kept in my truck. Then I started driving. Not toward home. Not yet. Toward Janet's house in Charlotte, 3 hours south. As I drove through the darkness, I forced myself to watch more of the footage. Every night I'd been gone this week. Every ritual. Every moment of terror. I needed to see it all. Needed to burn it into my memory so I'd never forget, never doubt, never soften. Because when the time came, when I finally got to confront Simone, when the police took her away, when I had to explain to Marcus that his mother would never hurt him again, I needed to be certain, needed to be strong. The highway stretched ahead of me, endless and dark, and somewhere behind me my son was lying in bed, waiting for the door to open, for the nightmare to begin again. And this time, I wasn't there to hear him cry. Janet's house was exactly what you'd expect from a social worker who'd spent 20 years helping broken families. Warm, cluttered with books and plants, walls covered with photos of nieces and nephews and former foster kids who'd stayed in touch, a place that radiated safety. I arrived around 3 in the morning. She was waiting up, still dressed, coffee already brewing. She hugged me hard when I walked through the door. "Let me see the footage," she said. We sat at her kitchen table for hours, her laptop open between us, reviewing every second of video I'd captured. She didn't flinch, didn't look away, just watched with the clinical detachment of someone who'd seen too much trauma to let it destroy her ability to help. When we finished, she sat back and removed her glasses, rubbing her eyes. "This is one of the worst cases I've seen," she said quietly. "And I've seen a lot. What do we do?" She pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. "We need to coordinate 3 things simultaneously: law enforcement, child protective services, and legal custody. If any one of those fails, this falls apart. Walk me through it. First, we report to police with the evidence. They'll open an investigation, but they can't just rush in and arrest her. They need to verify the footage, confirm it's legitimate, build a case. That could take a few days. Days. I know. She reached across and squeezed my hand. I know it's unbearable, but we do this right, or we risk losing him entirely. What about CPS? I have contacts there. I'll make calls this morning, get a caseworker assigned. They'll do their own investigation, which will corroborate the police findings. Together, that gives us enough to get an emergency protective order, which means you get temporary full custody, and Simone gets removed from the home immediately, possibly arrested, depending on how fast the DA moves. I nodded, trying to process it all. My brain felt sluggish, overwhelmed. I hadn't slept in over 30 hours. What about Marcus? I asked, when do I tell him what's happening? Not until we're pulling him out. If he knows ahead of time, he might inadvertently tip her off. Kids don't hide emotions well, especially traumatized kids. She'd see it in his face. So I just leave him there? Not say anything. You have to, for his own protection. The guilt was suffocating. What if she kills him, Janet? What if I'm waiting for the perfect moment, and she goes too far one night, and he doesn't wake up? That's the risk. She said it plainly, without sugarcoating. But statistically, abusers who've established a pattern like this rarely escalate suddenly. It's ritualistic. She's exerting control, not trying to kill him. Not that that makes it okay, she added quickly, but it means we probably have time. Probably. Not the most comforting word I'd ever heard. She opened her laptop again and pulled up a document. Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, well, today now, I'll contact Detective Sarah Chun. She specializes in child abuse cases, and she's good. Doesn't mess around. I'll send her the footage, and she'll start the process. How long before they move? 48 to 72 hours. If everything goes smoothly. They'll want to verify the footage isn't doctored, confirm the identities, maybe do a wellness check at the school to see if there are other signs. And then we orchestrate the extraction. Ideally, we do it when Marcus is somewhere safe. At school, maybe, so he doesn't have to witness his mother being arrested. You'll pick him up. CPS will be there with a protective order, and he won't go back to that house. I touched my wedding ring, twisting around my finger. The metal suddenly felt foreign. Wrong. I'm going to lose everything, aren't I? I said quietly. My marriage, my home, everything I built. Janet's expression softened. You're going to lose a lie. The marriage was already gone the moment she put her hands on your son. The home stopped being a home when it became a place of terror. You didn't have what you thought you had, Marcus. You had an illusion. Now you're going to have the truth, and maybe that's harder, but it's real. She was right, but that didn't make it hurt less. What do I do while we wait? I asked. You continue your route. Act normal. If you suddenly come home early, cancel trips, she'll know something's wrong. You want me to keep driving? To pretend everything's fine while my son. I want you to protect him by being strategic instead of emotional. I know it goes against every instinct you have, but the best thing you can do for Marcus right now is not tip her off. I wanted to argue, want to get back in my truck and drive straight home and break down that door and take my son and run. But I thought about what Janet said, that we had one shot to do this right. So I agreed. I stayed at Janet's house that day, sleeping restlessly on her couch, waking every few hours to check the camera feed. Watching Marcus move through the house like a ghost. Watching Simone play the role of concerned mother. Fixing him lunch. Asking about homework. Acting like she hadn't spent the previous night terrorizing him. That evening, Janet got a call back from Detective Chun. She wanted to meet in person, review the evidence, hear the full story. We met at a police station 20 miles outside the city, neutral territory, where no one would recognize me. Detective Chun was a small Asian woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She watched 5 minutes of footage and stopped the video. I've seen enough, she said, her jaw tight. This is clear-cut felony child abuse. Multiple counts. When you're ready to move, we'll be ready. How fast can it happen? If I push the DA, we can have an arrest warrant by Wednesday morning. I'll coordinate with CPS for simultaneous extraction. Where's the child now? Home. With her. And you? I'm supposed to be on a haul. She thinks I'm in Ohio. Chin nodded, making notes. Good. Keep it that way. Don't contact her. Don't give her any reason to suspect. Wednesday morning, we move. You'll pick up your son from school at 9 a.m. We'll have officers at your home to arrest her at the same time. CPS will be with you to process custody transfer. What if she runs? She won't. People like this, controllers, they don't think they'll get caught. They've been doing it so long, they feel invincible. She closed her notebook. Mr. Thompson, I want you to know something. You did the hardest thing a parent can do. You looked at the person you love and saw them clearly, even when it hurt. That took courage. Your son is lucky to have you. I didn't feel courageous. I felt like a failure who'd let his child suffer for months. But I thanked her anyway. The next 2 days were the longest of my life. I forced myself to drive the route, dropped off deliveries in Cincinnati, picked up freight in Columbus, acted like everything was normal. At night, I watched the camera feed, watched Simone's ritual play out with sickening consistency. Monday night, Tuesday night, the same tape, the same whispered threats, the same silent tears from my son. Each time, I came closer to breaking, to saying to hell with the plan, and just driving home and ending it myself. But Janet's words kept me grounded. We get one shot to do this right. On Tuesday evening, I got a text from Detective Chun. Warrant approved. Tomorrow 9 a.m. Officers briefed. Stay the course. I called Janet. It's happening. I know. Chun called me. You ready? No, that's normal. But you're going to do this anyway, because Marcus needs you to. That night, I didn't sleep at all. Just drove through the darkness, heading back toward home, toward the moment that would change everything. I thought about Marcus, about the little boy who used to laugh at my terrible jokes and insist on helping me wash the truck, even though he mostly just sprayed himself with a hose. About the kid who'd fall asleep during long car rides with his head on my shoulder, completely trusting, completely safe. I was going to get that kid back, whatever it took. Wednesday morning broke cold and gray, the sky heavy with clouds that threatened rain. I was parked 3 blocks from Marcus's school by 8 a.m., my truck idling, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my fingers had gone numb. Detective Chun had texted me at 7. In position. CPS en route to school. Officers at your residence waiting for my signal. You pick up Marcus at 9. We move simultaneously. I watch the minutes crawl by on my dashboard clock. 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. At 8:50, a gray sedan pulled into the school parking lot. A woman in business, casual, got out, mid-30s, carrying a folder. The CPS caseworker. My phone buzzed. I'm here, Ms. Reynolds, CPS. Ready when you are. At 8:58, I texted back. Going in now. I climbed out of my truck and crossed the parking lot, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. The school secretary looked up when I entered, surprised. Mr. Thompson? We weren't expecting. I need to pick up Marcus. Family emergency. She hesitated. Is everything okay? It will be. She made a call to his classroom. A few minutes later, Marcus appeared in the hallway with his teacher, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his face confused and worried. When he saw me, his eyes went wide. Daddy. I crossed him and knelt down. Hey, buddy, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be... Change of plans. I kept my voice steady, calm, even though inside I was screaming. You're coming with me. Am I in trouble? The question broke my heart. No, baby, you're not in trouble. You're never in trouble. Not anymore. The teacher looked between us uncertainly. Mr. Thompson, I'll need to clear this with. The front door opened and Ms. Reynolds entered, her folder tucked under her arm, her expression professional but warm. I'm Ms. Reynolds with Child Protective Services, she said, showing her credentials. Mr. Thompson has emergency custody of Marcus effective immediately. I have the paperwork here. She handed the teacher several official-looking documents. The teacher scanned them, her face growing pale as she read. Okay. Yes, of course. She looked down at Marcus with sudden sadness and understanding. You take care, Marcus. He nodded, not understanding what was happening, but sensing something big, something irreversible. I took his hand. Let's go, buddy. We walked out together, me, Marcus, and Ms. Reynolds. In the parking lot, she knelt down to Marcus's level. Hi, Marcus. My name is Sarah. I'm here to help make sure you're safe. Do you understand? He looked at me, then at her. Safe from what? From anything that's been scaring you, she said gently. Your dad is going to take care of you now, and I'm going to make sure nobody hurts you anymore. His face changed. The mask cracked. We know, I said, my voice thick. I know, Marcus. I've known for a few days, and I'm so sorry I didn't know sooner. His eyes filled with tears. Does Mom know you know? She's about to. My phone buzzed. Detective Chun, moving now. Across town, police officers were entering my house, showing Simone the warrant, reading her rights, placing handcuffs on the wrists that had hurt my son. I didn't need to be there for that. I needed to be here. Marcus, I said, squeezing his hand. You're safe now. You're coming with me. She can't hurt you anymore. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then his face crumpled and he threw his arms around my neck, holding on like I was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. I held him tight, right there in the parking lot, while he sobbed into my shoulder, huge, gasping sobs that sounded like they'd been trapped inside him for months. Ms. Reynolds waited respectfully, giving us space. When Marcus finally pulled back, his face was red and wet. Where are we going? Aunt Janet's house for now. Just for a little while, until I find us our own place. Just us? Just us. Not Mom. No, buddy, not Mom. Not ever again. He nodded slowly, processing. Good, he whispered. Is that bad? I think that's good. No, baby, that's not bad. That's smart. We drove to Janet's house, Ms. Reynolds following in her car. Marcus sat in the passenger seat of my truck, staring out the window, not saying much. Are you mad at me? He finally asked. Mad at you? Why would I be mad at you? Because I didn't tell you. I should have told you. I pulled over. Couldn't keep driving through this conversation. I turned to face him. Marcus, listen to me. None of this is your fault. You understand? You were scared. She threatened you. You're 7 years old. You did nothing wrong. But I could have. No, don't do that. Don't take blame for what she did. That's on her. All of it. He was quiet for a moment. Then, how'd you find out? I hesitated, not sure how much to tell him. I saw things that scared me. Bruises. How afraid you were. So I put a camera in your room. I watched what happened when I was gone. You saw. I saw. His face twisted with shame. You saw her do that to me? Yes. And you didn't think I deserved it? The question gutted me. Oh, Marcus. No. God, no. You never deserved any of it. Not 1 second. He started crying again. She said if I was better, if I was perfect, she wouldn't have to. She said it was my fault for being bad. She lied. You're not bad. You're a good kid. The best kid. She's sick, Marcus. Something's wrong with her. But that's not your fault either. We sat there in the truck on the side of the road, and I let him cry. Let him say all the things he'd been holding inside. Let him break apart, because that's what you have to do before you can heal. By the time we got to Janet's house, my phone had 3 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. I called back while Janet got Marcus settled inside with cookies and a movie. It was Detective Chun. Simone Thompson is in custody, she said. Arrested without incident. She's been charged with 4 counts of felony child abuse, assault, and unlawful restraint. Bond hearing is tomorrow, but I'm pushing for remand without bail. Thank you. The DA watched the footage. Said it's the clearest case of child abuse she's seen in 20 years. Your wife is looking at serious prison time. Your wife. But she wasn't. Not anymore. Maybe she never really had been. What happens now? I asked. CPS will do follow-up visits to assess Marcus's well-being. You'll need to take him to a child psychologist for evaluation. We'll provide recommendations. And you should get a family law attorney to file for divorce and sole custody. With this evidence, it'll be open and shut. I thanked her and hung up. Inside, Marcus was sitting on Janet's couch, a cookie untouched on a plate beside him, watching cartoon characters move across the TV screen without really seeing them. I sat down next to him. Hey! How you feeling? He shrugged. Weird. Yeah, that makes sense. Is she really in jail? Yeah. For how long? I don't know yet, but a long time. And even when she gets out, she won't be allowed near you. I'll make sure of it. He nodded, absorbing this. Then, will I have to see her? In court or anything? No, you won't have to testify. The video is enough. Good. He picked up the cookie, broke off a piece, put it back down. Daddy? Yeah, buddy? I tried to tell you. With my eyes. Did you see? The guilt hit me like a truck. All those times I'd looked at him and seen fear, but hadn't acted fast enough. Hadn't put it together until it was almost too late. I saw, I said, my voice breaking. I'm so sorry I didn't see sooner. He leaned against me, his small body finally relaxing. You saw eventually. That's what matters. We sat there together while the cartoons played and Janet moved quietly in the kitchen making lunch. And for the first time in months, my son felt safe enough to close his eyes and rest. Not sleep. Not yet, but rest. And that was a start. That first evening at Janet's house, I watched Marcus move through the space like he was testing it, checking for threats, mapping exits. He'd peek around corners before entering rooms, flinch when doors closed too loudly, keep his back to walls. 7 years old and already hypervigilant, already trained to expect danger. Janet made spaghetti for dinner, Marcus's favorite, or at least it used to be. She served him a full plate, and for the first time in months, I watched my son actually eat. Not pick at his food or push it around, but eat. Slowly at first, like he wasn't sure if it was allowed, then with more confidence. This is really good, Aunt Janet, he said quietly. Thanks, baby. You want seconds? He glanced at me, like he needed permission. I nodded, smiling. You can have as much as you want. He got seconds, then thirds, like he was trying to feel a hunger that went deeper than just his stomach. After dinner, Janet showed him the guest room. This is where you'll sleep. Your dad will be right across the hall in my office. I put a cot in there for him, and I'm just down the hall. Doors open, lights on, whatever you need. Okay. Marcus stood in the doorway, studying the room. Single bed with a blue comforter, bookshelf with children's books, a small lamp on the nightstand, no nightlight camera, just a regular, safe space. It's nice, he said. You let us know if you need anything, Janet said. Anything at all. When it was time for bed, I helped Marcus change into the pajamas Janet had bought that afternoon. We had to go shopping for basics, since we left home with nothing but his backpack. He moved slowly, tiredly, like the weight of the day was finally catching up to him. Daddy, he said as he pulled his shirt over his head, is she really not going to come? She's really not going to come. She's in jail, Marcus. She can't get to you. But what if she gets out? What if she... Then I'll be here, and I won't let her near you. I promise. He climbed into bed, pulling the covers up to his chin in that same defensive gesture I'd seen so many times on the camera footage, bracing himself for something terrible. Can you... He hesitated. Can you stay? Just for a while. I'll stay all night if you want. Really? Really? Relief flooded his face. Okay. I pulled the small chair from the corner of the room and positioned it next to his bed, sat down, close enough that he could reach out and touch my hand if he needed to. Want me to read you something? I asked, gesturing to the bookshelf. He nodded. I grabbed a random book, some story about a bear who was afraid of the dark, and started reading. My voice was rough, exhausted, but I kept going, kept reading even when the words started to blur together, because Marcus was listening, his eyes fixed on me like I was anchoring him to reality. Halfway through the book, he interrupted. Daddy? Yeah, buddy. I'm sorry I stopped laughing. The statement came out of nowhere, hitting me in the chest. What? I know I used to laugh a lot. And then I stopped. I'm sorry. Marcus, you don't have to apologize for that. She said I was annoying, that I was too loud. That's why she had to make me quiet. I set the book down. That's not true. You were never annoying. You were happy. Kids are supposed to be happy and loud and full of life. She was wrong. But I was bad sometimes. I forgot to clean my room, or I talked back, or... Every kid does that. That's normal. That's not a reason to hurt someone. I leaned forward. Marcus, there is nothing. You could have done that would make what she did okay. You understand me? Nothing. He stared at me with those big brown eyes. Want to believe it, but not quite able to. It's going to take time, I said gently, for you to really believe that. And that's okay. But I'm going to keep telling you until you do. He nodded slowly. Then, are you mad at her? Loaded question. Yeah, I am. Do you still love her? Even more loaded. I don't know, buddy. I loved who I thought she was. But that person, I don't think she ever really existed. Or maybe she did once and something changed. I don't know. But I know I love you more than I could ever be confused about her. He seemed satisfied with that answer, settled deeper into the pillows. I picked the book back up and kept reading. About 3/4 through, his eyes started to close. He fought it at first, forcing them open, like sleep was still dangerous. It's okay, I whispered. You can sleep. I'm right here. Nothing's going to happen. Promise? I promise. He finally let his eyes close, his breathing even out gradually, his body relaxing by degrees. I finished the book even though he was asleep. Then I just sat there, watching him, watching his chest rise and fall, listening to his breath, making sure he was real, safe, here. Around midnight, he woke with a start, sitting bolt upright, panic in his eyes. Hey, I said immediately, putting my hand on his shoulder. You're okay. You're at Aunt Janet's. Remember? It took him a few seconds to orient himself. Then he saw me and the fear drained away. You're still here. Told you I would be. What if you fall asleep? Then I'll be asleep in this chair. Still here. He lay back down, his eyes on me. Daddy? Yeah. Thank you for not giving up on me. My throat closed up. Never, Marcus. Not ever. He reached out his hand. I took it, holding it gently. I tried to tell you, he whispered. With my eyes. Did you see? He'd asked me this before in the truck. But I understood now that he needed to hear it again. Needed confirmation that his silent screams had been heard. I said, I'm so sorry I didn't see sooner. I should have. You saved me when you knew, he interrupted. That's what matters. The wisdom in that statement, the grace, coming from a 7-year-old who'd been through hell. It destroyed me. I sat there holding his hand, And for the first time since this nightmare began, I let myself cry. Quietly, so I wouldn't scare him, but I couldn't hold it back anymore. "Daddy, don't cry," Marcus said, his voice worried. "I'm okay, buddy. Sometimes grown-ups need to cry too." "Because you're sad?" "Because I'm sad about what happened to you, but also because I'm relieved you're safe." "It's both." He thought about that. Then he squeezed my hand. "It's okay to cry." We sat like that for a while, him holding my hand, me crying silently, until he finally drifted back to sleep. This time, he slept through the night. And so did I, slumped in that uncomfortable chair, my hand still holding his. When Janet checked on us in the morning, she found us like that. She took a picture on her phone, though I didn't know it until later. In the picture, you can see Marcus sleeping peacefully, his face relaxed for the first time in months. And you can see me, exhausted and tear-stained but present. That picture became important to me. Proof that we'd made it through the first night, the first safe night, the first of many. The weeks that followed were a blur of court dates, police interviews, psychological evaluations, and paperwork. So much paperwork. Detective Chun had been right. The DA called it one of the clearest cases of child abuse she'd seen in her career. The video evidence was irrefutable. Simone's public defender tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the DA wasn't interested in leniency. "This case is going to trial," she told me during one of our meetings, "and your ex-wife is going to prison." Ex-wife? I'd filed for divorce the week after Marcus's rescue. Emergency dissolution based on child endangerment. The family court judge had granted it expeditiously, along with a permanent restraining order and sole custody of Marcus. Simone's family had tried to reach out. Her mother called me crying, saying there must be some mistake, that Simone would never hurt Marcus, that I must have manipulated the footage somehow. I'd hung up on her. Her sister sent texts alternating between begging me to think of the family and accusing me of being vindictive, of overreacting to normal discipline. I blocked her number. Anyone who couldn't look at the evidence and see the truth, who valued their relationship with Simone over Marcus's safety, I cut them out completely. No hesitation. No guilt. My son came first. Everyone else was optional. The hardest part wasn't dealing with her family, though. It was watching Marcus navigate his new reality. We'd started therapy immediately. Dr. Lisa Okonkwo was a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. She was patient, warm, and didn't push Marcus to talk before he was ready. The first few sessions, he barely spoke, just drew pictures. Dark, violent images at first, figures with tape over their mouths, closed doors, shadows looming over small bodies. Dr. Okonkwo didn't comment on the content, just let him draw. By the fourth session, the pictures started changing. Still dark, but with small spots of color. A window with light coming through. A stick figure that might have been me standing between Marcus and the shadows. He's processing. Dr. Okonkwo told me after one session. It's going to be nonlinear. Good days and bad days. Setbacks and breakthroughs. That's normal for trauma recovery. The setbacks were brutal. One night, about 3 weeks after the rescue, I accidentally knocked over a glass in Janet's kitchen. The sound of it shattering sent Marcus into a full panic attack. He dropped to the floor, hands over his head, hyperventilating. It took me 20 minutes to calm him down. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. I'm sorry, I'll be perfect, I promise." "You don't have to be perfect," I kept repeating. "You're safe. It was just a glass, just an accident." But in his mind, accidents meant consequences. Mistakes meant punishment. That lesson had been drilled into him night after night. Undoing that conditioning was going to take time. I'd taken a leave of absence from my trucking job. Couldn't go back on the road, couldn't leave Marcus. Not now. We needed stability, routine, safety. My savings would cover us for a few months. And after that, I'd figure out. Money didn't matter. Marcus mattered. The bond hearing for Simone had denied bail. She'd remain in custody until trial. I was relieved, but also aware that meant she'd be sitting in jail thinking, planning, potentially building her defense strategy. Her lawyer had already tried to paint her as overwhelmed, suffering from postpartum depression that had never been treated, unable to cope with the stress of being a single parent while I was away. The prosecutor had shut that down fast. Postpartum depression doesn't cause someone to tape a child's mouth shut and beat them systematically over months. This wasn't a cry for help. This was calculated abuse. Still, I worried that a sympathetic jury might buy some version of her story. Worried that she'd get a reduced sentence. Worried that she'd eventually get out and find a way back to Marcus. But Detective Chin kept me grounded. The evidence is overwhelming, she reminded me. And Marcus doesn't have to testify. The video speaks for itself. She's going to prison, Mr. Thompson. I've seen cases with far less evidence get 20-year sentences. Trust the process. I tried to. The trial was set for October, 6 months away. The DA wanted time to build an airtight case, to line up expert witnesses, to make sure there was no room for doubt. 6 months felt like an eternity, but it also gave Marcus time to heal before having to face the finality of his mother's conviction. In the meantime, life slowly found a new rhythm. I enrolled Marcus in a new school, a small private school that specialized in supporting kids with trauma backgrounds. They had counselors on staff, flexible attendance policies, and teachers trained to recognize signs of distress. Marcus was hesitant at first, afraid of being around other kids, afraid of authority figures, afraid of everything. But his teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, was patient and kind. He let Marcus sit in the back of the classroom with his back to the wall. Let him step out when he felt overwhelmed. Never forced participation. And slowly, Marcus started to engage. One day, about 2 months after starting the new school, Marcus came home smiling. Smiling. I almost cried when I saw it. "I made a friend," he announced, dropping his backpack by the door. "Yeah? Tell me about them." "His name is Tyler. He's in my class. He likes Pokemon too. We traded cards at recess." Such a simple thing. A normal childhood moment. But for Marcus, it was monumental. That night, we celebrated with ice cream. "Daddy," Marcus said, licking chocolate off a spoon, "am I allowed to be happy?" The question caught me off guard. "Of course you are. Why would you think you're not?" He shrugged. "I don't know. It feels weird. Being happy? Yeah, like I'm forgetting to be scared." I set down my ice cream. "Marcus, you spent a long time being scared. Your brain got used to it. So now that you're safe, it doesn't know what to do. But being happy is allowed. Being happy is good. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Even if Mom is in jail, especially because Mom is in jail. She's there because of her choices, not yours. And you get to live your life now. You get to be a kid." He nodded slowly, processing, then went back to his ice cream. Small victories. That's what Dr. Okonkwo kept reminding me to celebrate. Not the big moments. Those were still far off. But the small victories. Marcus eating a full meal. Marcus sleeping through the night. Marcus making a friend. Marcus smiling. Each one proof that he was healing. Each one a step toward reclaiming the childhood that had been stolen from him. The trial finally came in October. I sat in the courtroom with Janet and Ms. Reynolds, watching as they played the footage for the jury. I'd seen it dozens of times by now, but watching in front of strangers, seeing their faces shift from shock to horror to rage, made it real in a new way. Simone sat at the defense table, her face blank. She didn't cry, didn't react, just watched the video of herself abusing our son like she was watching someone else. Maybe, in her mind, it was someone else. Maybe she divorced herself from her actions so completely that she didn't even recognize what she'd done as wrong. I didn't care about her psychology anymore. I just wanted her convicted. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was set for 3 weeks later. The prosecution was asking for 20 years. The maximum. When I got home that evening, Marcus was drawing at Janet's kitchen table. "How did it go?" he asked, not looking up from his picture. "She was found guilty," I said. "She's going to prison." He kept coloring, filling in the sky on his drawing. It was a picture of a house with a tree and 2 stick figures standing in the yard, one tall, one small. "Us. Good," he finally said. "Is that bad that I think that's good?" "No, buddy, that's not bad. That's smart." He nodded, adding details to the tree. Then quietly, "Will she ever say sorry?" Loaded question, one I'd been dreading. "I don't know," I answered honestly. Some people can't admit when they've done something wrong, even when everyone knows they did it. It's hard for them. So probably not? Probably not. He absorbed this. That's okay. I don't think I believe her anyway. The wisdom in that statement, the clarity, it amazed me. "Hey, Marcus?" I said, "Yeah, I'm really proud of you. You know that, right?" He finally looked up at me. "For what?" "For surviving, for being brave, for still being able to draw happy pictures after everything you went through." He looked back down at his drawing, at the house and the tree and the 2 stick figures. "It's not happy yet," he said, "but it's getting there." Yeah, I agreed. It is. 6 months post-rescue, Marcus's laugh returned. It happened on an ordinary Saturday afternoon. We'd moved out of Janet's house by then, found a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Nothing fancy, worn carpet, dated kitchen, but it was ours. More importantly, it had no memories attached, no ghosts in hallways. We were watching a movie, some animated thing about talking animals, and one of the characters did something ridiculous. I chuckled, and then Marcus laughed. A real laugh, not the hollow, careful sound he'd been making when he thought he was supposed to find something funny, but an actual belly laugh, surprised and genuine. I froze, stared at him. He noticed me staring, and his laugh cut off abruptly. "What?" "Nothing," I said, my throat tight. "Just, it's good to hear you laugh again." He smiled, still tentative, still testing the waters of happiness, and turned back to the movie. But I couldn't focus on the screen anymore. Just sat there thinking about how far we'd come. How Marcus had been a ghost 6 months ago, and now he was a kid who could laugh at cartoons. Dr. Okonkwo had been right. Healing wasn't linear. We'd had setbacks. Plenty of them. Like the night Marcus woke up screaming from a nightmare, convinced Simone had escaped from prison and was standing outside his door. It took me an hour to calm him down, and afterward, he slept in my bed with all the lights on. Or the time a teacher raised her voice at another student and Marcus had a panic attack, ended up in the nurse's office hyperventilating while I rushed to the school. Or the weeks where he regressed, stopped eating again, stopped sleeping, withdrew into that empty shell of himself. But there were also breakthroughs, like when Marcus started drawing in therapy and his pictures shifted from dark and violent to bright and hopeful. Houses with sunshine, trees with birds, stick figures that smiled. Like when he initiated a hug with me for the first time since the rescue, just walked up while I was making dinner and wrapped his arms around my waist without being prompted. Like when he started using the word safe without me saying it first. "I feel safe here," he'd say about our apartment. Or, "That teacher makes me feel safe." Small victories that added up to something bigger. I'd changed careers. Couldn't go back to long-haul trucking. Couldn't be gone for days at a time. So I found work with a local delivery company. Home every night by 6. Weekends off. Less money, but more time. More time with Marcus. That was worth everything. We established routines. Rituals that were the opposite of the ones Simone had imposed. These were about comfort, predictability, safety. Friday nights were movie nights. Marcus got a pick, and we'd make popcorn and sprawl on the couch together. Sunday mornings were pancake mornings. Marcus helped mix the batter, poured them himself into the pan with supervision. Felt proud when they came out mostly round. Every night at bedtime, we had the same conversation. Are you safe? I'd ask. I'm safe, he'd answer. Are you loved? I'm loved. Are you a good kid? I'm a good kid. Sometimes he believed it. Sometimes he just said the words because I wanted him to. But we kept the ritual anyway, building new neural pathways to replace the ones trauma had carved. Dr. Okonkwo explained it to me once. Trauma rewires the brain. It teaches the nervous system to stay in fight or flight mode constantly. Healing means rewiring again, teaching it that safety is possible, that not every door opening is a threat, that not every raised voice precedes violence. But that takes time and repetition. You're doing it right. I didn't always feel like I was doing it right. There were days I felt utterly lost, overwhelmed, certain I was screwing it all up. Like the day Marcus asked, "Why did Mom hate me?" We were sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, second grade math problems. The question came out of nowhere, casual as asking about the weather. "She didn't hate you," I said carefully. "Then why did she hurt me?" How do you explain something you don't understand yourself? How do you make sense of senseless cruelty? I don't know, buddy. I think something was broken inside her. Something that made her think hurting people was okay. But that's about her, not about you. But she didn't hurt you. Just me. That's because she knew I'd stop her. You couldn't stop her. She picked on someone smaller, someone who couldn't fight back. That's what cowards do. He thought about that, chewing on his pencil. Am I like her? My heart stopped. What? Am I like her? Do I have the broken thing too? No. Marcus, no. You're nothing like her. But she's my mom. Don't kids turn out like their parents? I put down the math worksheet and pulled his chair around to face me. Listen to me. You are not destined to be like her. You get to choose who you become. And every choice you make, being kind to your friend Tyler, helping me with dishes, drawing those beautiful pictures, those are choices that make you more like you and less like her. You understand? He nodded, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Besides, I added, you've got my genetics too. And I turned out pretty okay, right? You're the best dad ever, he said simply. The statement hit me hard. I didn't feel like the best dad ever. I felt like a dad who'd failed to protect his son for months, who'd slept down the hall while his child was being tortured. But Marcus didn't see it that way. He saw the dad who'd eventually figured it out, who'd saved him, who showed up every day after. Maybe that was enough. Around the 8-month mark, something shifted. Marcus started talking more, not just answering questions, but volunteering information, telling me about his day without prompting, sharing jokes he'd heard at school. His friend Tyler came over for a play date, our first one. I stayed nearby but tried to give them space. Listened to them playing with action figures, creating elaborate storylines, laughing at their own creativity. Normal kid stuff. Beautiful, normal kid stuff. That night, after Tyler went home, Marcus said, "That was fun." "Yeah, you guys seem to have a good time." "Can we do it again?" "Absolutely." He grinned. Then more seriously, "Daddy?" "Yeah." "I'm glad you found out. I'm glad you saved me." He'd said things like that before, but this time felt different, more certain, more real. "I'm glad I found out too," I said. "I just wish I'd known sooner." "But you didn't give up. That's the important part." There was again that grace, that wisdom beyond his years. Trauma had stolen his innocence, but it had also given him an understanding of human nature that most adults never achieve. "I'll never give up on you. I promised." "Never." "I know." By the 9-month mark, Marcus was sleeping through the night consistently. No nightmares, or at least none that woke him. His appetite was healthy. He'd gained weight, grown an inch, looked less fragile. His drawings in therapy had fully transformed. Dr. Okonkwo showed me one during a parent session. It showed 2 stick figures on a beach, the sun bright yellow, birds in the sky. That's us on vacation. Marcus had explained to her. We're going next month. We were. I'd saved up enough for a long weekend at the beach. Just the two of us. Marcus had never seen the ocean. He's doing remarkably well. Dr. Okonkwo told me. He's resilient. But I want to be clear. He'll probably always carry these scars. Might struggle with anxiety, trust issues, relationships. We can't predict how this trauma will manifest as he grows older. I know. But with continued support, therapy, and the stability you're providing, he has every chance at a full, healthy life. You've done everything right. I didn't feel like I'd done everything right, but I'd done the best I could, and maybe that was enough. Simone had been sentenced to 15 years. Not the 20 the prosecution wanted, but enough. She'd be 53 when she got out. Marcus would be 22. An adult, safe, strong. She'd filed an appeal, but it was denied. The evidence was too overwhelming. Her conviction stood. I didn't tell Marcus about the sentence. Didn't want him counting down years, waiting for some future threat. Better to let him focus on now, on building his life, on healing. Sometimes I wonder what Simone thought about in prison, if she felt remorse, if she understood what she'd done. Probably not. People like that, they rarely do, but it didn't matter. She was gone. Marcus was safe. That was all that counted. One evening in late spring, almost a year after the rescue, Marcus and I were sitting on our apartment balcony, watching the sunset. It was a small balcony, barely big enough for 2 chairs, but we liked it. Our little piece of sky. Daddy, Marcus said. Yeah, buddy? I don't think about her every day anymore. No. Sometimes I go whole days without remembering. Is that bad? That's healing, Marcus. That's your brain letting you move forward. Does it make me a bad person that I don't miss her? Not even a little bit. You don't owe her anything. Not love, not forgiveness, not even your thoughts. You get to decide how much space she takes up in your head. He nodded, watching the sun sink lower. I think I want her to take up less space. Then that's what we'll work toward. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn orange and pink and purple. Daddy, Marcus said again. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For not looking away. The simplicity of it. The profound truth of it. I could have looked away. Could have convinced myself everything was fine. Could have prioritized my marriage over my son's safety. Could have been the kind of parent who chooses comfort over truth. But I hadn't. I'd looked, I'd seen, I'd acted, and it had saved his life. I'll never look away again. I promised. Not ever. Marcus smiled. A real smile, full and genuine, and turned back to the sunset. We stayed there until the stars came out, father and son, survivors both, learning to breathe again. It's been a year since the rescue. 12 months since I installed that camera. 12 months since the world as I knew it ended and a new one, harder but more honest, began. Marcus is 8 now, almost 9. He still has therapy every week. Still has moments where the past rises up and grabs him. Still carries scars that probably won't ever fully fade. But he's also thriving. He made the school soccer team. Wasn't sure he wanted to try out, worried about being around coaches. But I encouraged him, and he did it. Scored 3 goals this season. Comes home sweaty and happy and talks strategy with me over dinner. He has friends now. Real friends. Kids who come to our apartment for playdates and birthday parties. Kids who know nothing about his past except that he's funny and good at video games and shares his snacks. Normal kid friendships. The kind he deserves. We moved again about 6 months ago. Found a small house with a yard. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. Marcus helped pick it out. Insisted on a room with a window that faces sunrise. So I can see the light first thing, he explained. His room is chaos now. Legos everywhere. Drawings taped to the walls at odd angles. A pile of stuffed animals in the corner he calls his team. It looks like a kid's room should look. He got a new teddy bear for Christmas. Named it Bruno, after the original. This one is pristine, loved but not damaged. He still sleeps with it every night. Every night. That's become sacred to me. Nighttime. What was once a time of terror has transformed into something peaceful. Our bedtime routine is the same every evening. I sit on the edge of Marcus's bed while he gets comfortable. We talk about the day, highs and lows, funny moments, hard moments. Sometimes we read a chapter from whatever book we're working through. Sometimes we just talk. Then I ask the same questions. Are you safe? I'm safe, Daddy. Are you loved? I'm loved. Are you a good kid? I'm the best kid. He says it with confidence now. Believes it most days. I kiss his forehead. Turn on the nightlight. A regular one, no camera, just soft warm light. Leave his door cracked open so he can see the hallway light. So he knows I'm near. I'm right down the hall if you need me. I always say, I know, he always answers. And then I leave him to sleep. Safe, loved, protected. Sometimes I stand in the hallway for a few minutes, just listening to him settle, hearing his breathing even out, knowing he's okay. Every night now, I hear him breathe. Every night, I know he's safe. Every night, I keep my promise. The other evening, I was standing there in the hallway listening, and Marcus called out, Dad? I stepped back into his room. Yeah, buddy? He was sitting up in bed, hugging Bruno, his face thoughtful. I was thinking, he said. About what? About how different everything is now from before. Different good or different bad? Different good. Way better. He paused. Do you think I'll always remember? What happened? Honest question. Deserve an honest answer. Yeah, buddy, I think you'll always remember. But the memory will get smaller, less sharp. It won't hurt as much as it used to. Like a scar. Exactly like a scar. He nodded, processing. That's okay. I don't want to forget completely. Why not? Because then I wouldn't remember how brave you were. How you saved me. My throat tightened. You were brave too, Marcus. You survived. We both were brave, he decided. Team brave. Team brave, I agreed. He smiled, then lay back down. Okay, I'm ready to sleep now. I kissed his forehead again. Good night, buddy. Good night, Daddy. Love you. Love you too. More than anything. I left his door cracked, watched him snuggle into his pillows, then walked down the hall to my own room. But before I went to bed, I did what I do every night. I opened my phone and looked at the picture Janet took that first safe night at her house. Marcus sleeping peacefully, me in the chair beside him, both of us exhausted but together. I keep that picture as a reminder of where we started, of how far we've come. Some nights I also think about that camera, about the choice I made to install it, to see the truth even when I was terrified of what I'd find. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it was also the only decision. Because I'm his father. And a father's job isn't to believe everything is fine. It's to see what's real, even when it's painful. To protect, even when protection means destroying everything you thought you knew. Some fathers build empires. I rebuilt trust. Some men chase glory. I chase truth. Some people measure success in money or power or status. I measure it in my son's laughter, in his ability to sleep through the night, in the way he runs to me when he's scared instead of hiding, in the confidence returning to his voice, in the light coming back to his eyes. That's my empire. That's my glory. That's my success. Marcus is healing. Not healed. Maybe he'll never be fully healed. And that's okay. But he's healing, growing, becoming the kid he was always meant to be, the one who was buried under fear and pain for so long. And every night, I stand guard over that healing. Not literally. I don't stand in his doorway anymore. But metaphorically, emotionally, I'm vigilant in ways I wasn't before. I notice things. I listen to the things he doesn't say. I watch for signs of struggle or setback. I'm present in a way I couldn't be when I was on the road 5 days a week. I'm his father, fully, completely, without distraction. That's what I should have been all along. I can't change the past. Can't undo the months of abuse. Can't give him back the innocence that was stolen. Can't erase the memories that still haunt him sometimes. But I can give him the future. I can give him safety and stability and unconditional love. I can show him that adults can be trusted, that homes can be safe spaces, that families can be sources of joy instead of pain. I can teach him that he's worthy of good things, that he doesn't have to be perfect to deserve love, that mistakes are normal and don't equal punishment. I can stand between him and anything that tries to hurt him ever again. That's my vow, my purpose, not revenge against Simone. I don't waste energy thinking about her anymore. She's gone, irrelevant, a chapter that's closed. My purpose is Marcus, his healing, his happiness, his life. Every night now, I tuck him in and tell him he's safe. Tell him he's loved. Tell him he's a good kid. And every night, I see him believe it a little more. That's enough. That's everything. Tomorrow he has a soccer game. He's nervous. Thinks he might not play well. Worried about letting his team down. Tonight before bed, we talked about it. I reminded him that trying his best is all that matters. That I'm proud of him no matter what. That showing up is the bravest thing. He fell asleep, less worried. That's what I do now. I carry the worries he's too small to carry alone. I provide perspective when trauma distorts his thinking. I remind him of truth when lies try to creep back in. I father him. Actively, intentionally, completely. It's not the life I imagined when I got married, when Marcus was born, when I thought I knew what my future looked like. It's harder, more complicated, marked by pain that shouldn't have existed. But it's also more honest, more real, built on truth instead of illusion. And when I look at Marcus, at the way he smiles now, at the way he plays, at the way he's learned to be a kid again, I know it was worth it. Every sleepless night watching camera footage, every confrontation with authorities, every therapy session, every moment of doubt or fear or guilt, worth it, because my son sleeps without fear now. He wakes up knowing he's safe. He goes to school and plays with friends and comes home to a house where love doesn't come in conditions or violence. He gets to be 8 years old, gets to have a childhood. That's not something I gave him. It's something I gave back, and I'll keep giving it back, night after night, year after year, until he's grown and strong and ready to build his own life. Until then, I stand guard, not with cameras or weapons or force, but with presence, with love, with unwavering commitment. Every night now, I hear him breathe. Every night, I know he's safe. Every night, I keep my promise. That is enough. That is everything.